I still remember how the front door groaned when I came home that night. It was just before midnight, the kind of hour when silence presses on you, thick and alive, as if the house itself is listening. My heels tapped against the wooden floor, echoing down the hallway before I even saw him. Daniel sat on the couch, the TV frozen on a muted frame, a half-finished glass of whiskey dangling from his hand. The dim blue light washed over his face, hollowing his features. But his eyes, those dark, unblinking eyes, were wide open. "You're late," he said quietly. Not angry, just noting it. That was somehow worse. I could have handled anger. Anger had edges, rules. But this stillness, this careful restraint, it made my chest tighten. I forced a smile. The party ran long. You know how it goes, music, drinks, old friends. He didn't smile back, just stared. And in that moment, I swear, I knew he already suspected. I'd gone to that party with intention, a decision I'd been circling for months. It wasn't impulse. It was escape. I told myself I just needed to feel something again, to remember I was still alive, still wanted. Daniel hadn't touched me in weeks. Our conversations had turned mechanical, like two strangers exchanging updates, not affection. So when Mia invited me, small gathering, a few couples, nothing serious, I agreed instantly. Told Daniel it was girls only. He didn't even blink. That indifference hurt more than any fight ever could. At the party, it was like stepping into another life, one where laughter came easy, eyes lingered, and compliments didn't sound forced. That's where I met Chris. Tall, assured, the kind of man whose confidence fills the room. We talked for hours about music, travel, love, and how quietly those things fade. He made me feel visible again. It wasn't about him, not really. It was about remembering myself, before the quiet, before the distance. But that illusion only lasts until guilt finds its voice. By the time I got home, guilt was screaming. Daniel hadn't moved. "How was it?" he asked, setting his glass down. "Fine," I said, kicking off my shoes, pretending calm. "Fine," he repeated, his tone too even. Then, softly, "Did you have fun with other men?" My breath caught. "What?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I asked if you had fun being with other men." My pulse thudded. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't cruel. Just wounded, and that was somehow worse. "Daniel, I don't know what you're talking about." He sighed, unlocked his phone, and turned the screen toward me. A photo. Me laughing with Chris, his hand resting lightly on my arm. Posted online. Nothing scandalous, but close enough to sting. "It's just a picture," I blurted. "You're overthinking it." His voice was low, steady. "No, Emily. I've been underthinking it. Because something's been missing for a long time, and I kept pretending it wasn't. That cracked something inside me. Not guilt, but shame. The kind that burrows deep. I wanted to say it wasn't about another man. It was about us, about the quiet that had settled like dust between us. But the words never came. He stood after a long pause, walked past me, and stopped in the doorway. "I hope it was worth it," he said softly. Then he disappeared upstairs, leaving me with the hum of the TV and the faint trace of whiskey. For the first time, I realized maybe he hadn't been the one who stopped trying. Maybe it was me. I didn't sleep. I sat there till sunrise, staring at the empty glass he'd left behind. Every creak in the house sounded like blame. I thought about going upstairs, explaining, but what was there to say? That I wanted attention? To feel something again? None of it sounded like love. Just excuses. By morning, he was gone. His car missing from the driveway. The coffee pot still warm, a silent echo that he'd been here, thinking, deciding. I checked my phone. No message. No call. Just the photo, me and another man, still circling among friends who'd now whisper about the kind of wife I'd become. Around noon, his text arrived. "Don't worry. I just need some space. I'll be home tonight." Those words brought relief, for barely a second, then dread. Space was the one thing we already had too much of. When he came back that evening, the silence felt charged, thick with something unsaid. He didn't look angry. He looked settled, like someone who had finally accepted the weight of his choice. He walked into the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of water, and turned to face me. "Do you love me, Emily?" The question hit me off balance. It wasn't sharp. It was tender, almost mournful. "Of course I do," I said too quickly. "You're my husband." He nodded slowly. "Then why did you go?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. How could I explain that I hadn't gone there to find someone else, that I went to find the version of myself that had faded in our quiet life? But even in my head, the truth sounded weak. "I just wanted to feel alive again," I whispered.
His jaw tightened.
"And you couldn't feel alive here with me?" That question cut deeper than any accusation could, because there wasn't a simple answer. Somewhere along the way, we had both stopped reaching. We'd learned to live beside each other instead of with each other. But I was the one who crossed the line trying to fix it the wrong way. He exhaled and leaned back against the counter. "You know what's strange?" he said quietly. "I kept thinking I was the one who let you down. That maybe I wasn't enough anymore. But now I get it. It was never about enough. It was about you wanting different." Tears stung my eyes. "That's not fair, Daniel." "Maybe not," he murmured. "But neither was what you did." He turned toward the hallway.
Panic flooded me.
"Please don't leave," I said. He stopped. "I'm not. But things won't be the same anymore." Then he went upstairs, and this time I didn't follow. I sat at the kitchen table, tracing the cracks in the wood, the same table where we used to laugh over burnt pasta and cheap wine. How far we'd fallen from that. The weeks that followed were quiet in a new way. Not avoidance, just distance with rules. He still came home. We still talked about groceries, bills, work. But his eyes didn't linger. His laughter was slower, softer. And every goodnight sounded like an ending he'd already accepted. One evening, I found him sitting on the couch again, scrolling through his phone, the same blue glow painting his face. "Can we talk?" I asked from the doorway. He nodded, not looking up. "I've been thinking," I said, voice trembling, "about that night and about us. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need to say it." He finally looked up.
Calm.
Measured. "You don't owe me words, Emily. You owe yourself honesty." The quiet after that felt like a bruise. "You went to that party because something inside you had already left," he said softly. "And I can't rebuild something that doesn't have a foundation anymore." "I want to fix it," I whispered. He shook his head. "Sometimes fixing it means knowing when to stop." Those words stayed long after he walked away. A month later, Daniel moved out. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just a folded note on the counter. "I hope you find what you're still looking for." I read that note every day until the guilt dulled into understanding. I had wanted to feel alive again, but in chasing that feeling, I had buried something real. Now, when I catch my reflection, I hardly recognize the woman staring back. She found what she was looking for, only to lose everything that mattered. And some nights, when the floorboards creak, I still expect to see Daniel sitting there in that soft blue light, waiting. But the couch stays empty. Because this time, he didn't stop trying. I did.